Okay, good morning, all. We extend our condolences to Deborah on the passing of her father, and that's why we didn't have class last Friday because of the funeral. And may his memory always be a source of blessing and comfort to you, Deborah. We left off about to start chapter 9 in Samuel. 1 Samuel. So we're on page 44 in our text that we're using. Or if you're on the recording, if you're following from another text, it's chapter 9. We'll read the first few verses. Vayehi ish mi bin yamin. So I just want to pause there to show that there's an asterisk between what looks like two words, mi bin and then yamin. So the asterisk goes to right under the line of the text, and then in small print it says 1 and then V, verse 1, and mi bin yamin, kuf apostrophe. So we're supposed to read the two words as written here as the word Binyamin. So Binyamin being Benjamin, but written here, Bin, as in Ben, son of, and Yamin meaning right or right hand. So anyway, it's just sometimes there's a discrepancy between how words are written in the text and how the rabbis say they're intended to be pronounced. Okay? Vayehi ish mi Binyamin, ushmo Kish ben Aviel, ben Tzuror, ben Bechorat, ben Afiach, ben Ish Yemini, Gibor Chayo. So there was a man of Benjamin, and his name was Kish, the son of Aviel, the son of Tzuror, the son of Bechorat, the son of Afiach, of a Benjaminite, a man of valor, or a mighty warrior, or a mighty soldier. Okay, now, it's interesting, it goes back a few generations. So Kish, we have his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, and his great-great-grandfather mentioned. Usually, if it goes back that far, it'll go all the way back to Benjamin himself in this case, but it doesn't do that. So why all these generations? Not sure. We'll see what the commentary says in a little bit. Velo haya ben, ushemo Shaul, bachur vatov, ve'ein ish mi b'nei Yisrael, tov mimenu, mi shichmo v'mala, gavoa mikol ha'am. So he had, this guy Kish, had a son, and his name was Shaul, who's described here as Bachur Vatov. So Bachur usually means a young man, so which is a noun. Here it's an adjective. So it in the English translation here, it says young. So he's young. So in Alter, he translates Bachur as fine. Okay, so he was fine and good. And there wasn't a man from the people of Israel better than he. From his shoulder and higher, he was taller than anyone else among the people. Okay, so all the people, average height, he's Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar compared to everybody else. Okay? So that's how he's described. He's young and good, or fine and good. Nobody better than him in Israel, and nobody taller either. Okay, so let's those two verses. So let's read the commentary here. 44. The son of a Benjaminite. The name of Aphiah's father was either unknown or unimportant. So in other words, we go back to his great-great-grandfather, and the commentary suggests we don't need to know anybody beyond that. A mighty man of valor or a man of great wealth. That could be a way to understand Gibor. Gibor usually is mighty related to physical strength or prowess in the battlefield, but it can be applied to wealth. Not as frequently, but that's what the commentary is suggesting. Young, Hebrew Bachur, literally a man in the prime of manhood. So I'm not sure about that, because Bachur usually means, I would guess I would apply the word Bachur to those serving in the army in Israel. You just graduate high school and you serve the army for 3 years. That age would be Bachur, even a little younger, like teenager could be Bachur also. But anything older than that, older than 21, not sure I would apply Bachur to that. Okay, but that's what the commentary is suggesting. And it goes on, not Saul's age, but his physical fitness for kinghood is the point here. There is no reason for deducing that he was too young at his election to have a grown-up son. And then on 45, goodly. The adjective describes Saul's stature, not his looks, as is evident from the second half of the verse. So maybe, according to this commentary, he wasn't handsome, but he's goodly in that he's tall. And that unusual characteristic is described as good. Okay, let's read what Alter has to say on these two verses. And there was, page 281. And there was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish. The formulaic phrasing, there was a man, followed by name, home region, and genealogy, signals to the audience that we are beginning a discrete new story within the larger narrative. Compare the beginning of Hannah's story in chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Head and shoulders taller than all the people. The Hebrew says literally from his shoulders taller than all the people. Saul's looming size, together with his good looks, seems to be an outward token of his capacity for leadership. But as the story unfolds with David displacing Saul, his physical stature becomes associated with a basic human misperception of what constitutes fitness to command. All right, so just Alter is just laying out the literary elements of the story. And so we think being tall might be a characteristic. And say, hey, pick him. He's the tallest among us. Maybe it's a metaphor for being the best among us, the most fit among us. And we will see soon as the story unfolds that he's far from fit. And he has emotional problems as well. Okay, so we go on. It says here on the bottom of 45, verses 3 to 10 is a unit. So we'll do that, 3 to 10, back to page 45. Vatovadna ha'atonot lekish avi Shaul, vayomer Kish el Shaul beno, kachna itcha et echad mehane'arim, v'kum lech bakeshet ha'atonot. So the female donkeys of Kish, the father of Saul, got lost. I don't know how one loses animals like that, especially more than one, but okay. So the female donkeys of Kish, father of Saul, were lost. And Kish said to Saul, his son, take with you one of the guys, one of the servants, and go and get up and go and look for the donkeys. Vaya'avor bahar Ephraim, vaya'avor be'eretz Shalisha, velo matza'u, vaya'avru be'eretz Sha'alim va'ayin, vaya'avor be'eretz Yemini, velo matza'u. So he went through the hill country of Ephraim, and he went through the land of Shalisha and couldn't find them. And they went through the land of Sha'alim, and they weren't there. And he went through the land of Benjamin, and he couldn't find them. 5. Hema ba'u be'eretz Tsuf, v'Shaul amar lena'aro asher imo, lecha v'nashuva, pen yechdal avi min ha'atonot, v'da'ag lanu. So they came to the land of Tsuf, and Saul said to his servant who was with him, let's go and return, lest my father would stop caring about the donkeys and worry about us. Like they were gone for a while, to a few days, looking for the donkeys. And Saul says, you know what, let's go back. Maybe Dad's getting worried. 6. Vayomer lo, hinena ish Elohim ba'ir hazot, ve'ha'ish nichbad, kol asher yedaber bo yavo. Ata nelcha sham, ulai yagid lanu et darkenu, asher halachnu aleha. So he said to him, and who? Yes, I thought it was the servant speaking to Saul, and that's what the commentary says down there on 6. The servant said to Saul. So this is interesting in what he says. So the servant says to Saul. But the Hebrew says he said to him. Now we assume it's the servant saying to Saul, because Saul just said to the servant. Okay, because we see in verse 5 Saul's talking to his servant. And then, now it's, he said to him. So, it's assumed that it's a servant talking to Saul. Hey, so he's saying in a respectful tone, Hine na. If it pleases you, I heard, something like that, that there's a man of God in this city, or in this town, and the man is respected. Anything that he says comes to pass. Now let's go there. Maybe he'll tell us our path that we should go on. That is, maybe he'll tell us where the donkeys are. Or maybe he'll tell us whether we should keep looking for the donkeys or go home. Okay, so 7. It's just interesting that the servant suggests this. So this is the future king of Israel, and perhaps Saul would have been the one to say, you know what, before we go home, maybe we should check in on this man of God. So just the fact that the servant has to suggest it to him is kind of an unusual thing. Okay, and it's supposed to, we're supposed to wonder. I think we're supposed to wonder about it. Why is it the servant who's suggesting the man of God and not, because who knows who this servant is? Is the servant even an Israelite? So if he's not an Israelite, it's even more so. How is a non-Israelite suggesting to go to this man of God? Shouldn't the future king of Israel, we know from, he's not the king of Israel yet, but we know that Saul becomes the king of Israel. So how's the future king of Israel, who is supposed to be, we just were introduced to him as the best man in all of Israel, how does he not know about the man of God or not think about it? Okay, so 7, we're on page 46. Vayomer Shaul l'na'aro, vehine nelech uma navi laish. Ki halechem azal mi kelenu, uteshura ein lahavi laish Elohim, ma itanu. So Saul says to his servant, yeah, that's a good idea, let's go, but what are we going to bring to the man? Because we don't have any bread anymore. Like, we ate up all our food. And there isn't a present. There isn't a gift. Teshurah is a gift. There isn't a gift to bring to the man of God. What do we have? What should we do? Okay, so this is interesting. Just by way of this dialogue, we know that if you're going to go meet the man of God, you're going to bring a gift, right? Which brings to mind yesterday, I think, in the news, so there's a tennis match, a tennis tournament going on in Rome, and like the top tennis player in the top ranked tennis player in the world, paid a visit to the Pope and gave him a tennis racket. Okay, so now we know that the Pope, the new Pope, likes to play tennis. And there's like a drone view of the Vatican, and there's a tennis court, a clay tennis court, tucked into like the corner of Vatican City. And apparently Pope Leo plays tennis for exercise. So okay, so the gift doesn't have to be a standard gift. Right? And it doesn't have to be even religious, but it should be something that's meaningful. And for this tennis player, nothing's more meaningful than a tennis racket. Okay, so Saul is saying here, we don't have anything to bring. What are we going to do? What do you suggest? He says to his servant. 8, Vayosef hana'ar la'anot et Shaul, Vayomer hine nimtza biyadi Reva shekel kasef, venatanti leisha Elohim, v'higid lanu et darkenu. So the servant added to answer Saul and said, you know, I happen to have a quarter of a silver shekel. Let's give it to the man of God, and he'll tell us our way. Like, he'll tell us what to do. So, okay, so the servant says, so now how is it that the servant has money and Saul doesn't have money? Now, it could be like, you know, the leader of the free world doesn't keep a wallet in his pocket. That's what he has aides for, to take care of things like that. So it's possible that a person of Saul's stature doesn't keep things like that on him. That's what he has a servant for. So like the servant is like his walking purse. Okay, so the servant says, I happen to have a quarter of a silver shekel. Who knows how much that is? Is it worth a quarter? Is it $10? Is it $50? Who knows what it is, but it's something valuable enough to be considered worth giving to the man of God. That is Samuel, of course. 9. Lefanim b'Yisrael, ko amar, ha'ish belechto lidrosh Elohim, lechu v'nelcha ad haroeh, ki lanavi hayom, yikarei lefanim haroeh. So, according to the English, this verse 9 is now a parenthetical note. Before this time in Israel, a person would say, when he went to seek out God, let's go and see the seer, because he's now called a prophet, and before that he's called a seer. So I have no idea what this is. I mean, we know about a Navi, a prophet, but do we know about a category of a person called a Roeh? So our author of the book of Samuel is telling us something parenthetically, that people used to go to seek out God by seeking the Navi, by going to the Navi. So we only know, by the way, of Samuel. What other Navi is there among the people? We know of Moses, right? But did people go to Moses? People went to Moses, according to the Torah, to settle disputes. And then Moses' father-in-law helped him understand, it would be better to set up a system of thousands, hundreds, and tens, that maybe you can delegate responsibility, so you only see the toughest cases. So you spend less time having to deal with mundane things. But that's all we know in the Torah. In Joshua and Judges, we don't have people seeking out the prophet. This is the first we're hearing of this. Now, we do know that about people, and this is how we know that Samuel's sons were corrupt and Eli's sons were corrupt, that people came to the Mishkan to offer a sacrifice, and Eli's sons expected an extra gift of an animal for their service of offering the sacrifice to God. So there's that. But what is this that we're learning here about people going to see a prophet? So this is new. This is news to us. Okay, so now verse 10, Vayomer Shaul lena'aro, Tov devarcha, lecha nelcha ve'yelchu el ha'ir asher sham isha Elohim. So Saul says to his servant, good idea. Like, in other words, your words are good. That's what it means literally. Good idea. Let's go. And they went to the city where there was the man of God. Okay, so now let's look at the commentary on this section. So back to 45. The asses, the donkeys, better some donkeys. The noun is definite in Hebrew because it's connected in anticipation with the events about to be described and is thus regarded as defined. Okay, Shalisha, Sha'alim, as these places cannot be identified, Saul's route is uncertain. Tzuf, see on chapter 1, he said unto him, the servant said to Saul, this city, he points to the town which can be seen from where they stand. The city is generally held to have been Ramah, Samuel's permanent home. If it were some other place which Samuel was in the habit of visiting, the servant would have no reason to expect to find him there on that day. What shall we bring the man? Saul did not know that it was Samuel's practice not to accept gifts. Throughout this chapter, it's strange how little Saul knows about Samuel. It has been suggested that the reason was that the days of Samuel's greatest activity were long past, and that Saul, living the retired life of farmer, knew little of the political and religious movements of the time. Okay, so that could be, but Saul living the retired life of a farmer. I'm not sure I buy that idea that the farmers would not know what's going on in Israel. I could buy the idea that maybe Samuel is past his prime, right? The war of the Philistines has long passed. But yeah, so we don't know how much time has passed, so maybe he's forgotten about Samuel, but okay. Critical scholars explain the difficulty by the theory of diverse sources. So that could be another explanation that we just, there are different sources that came together in being edited into the book of Samuel as we have it. Okay. For the bread is spent. See 1 Kings 14 for the gift of food to a prophet. Kimchi suggests, however, that Saul did not mean that the bread, if he had any, could have been used as a gift, but that they had no money left even to buy bread. Okay, so don't think, according to Kimchi, that bread is what you give to a prophet. It's just that it was a metaphor for saying, we have no money. A present, the Hebrew noun teshurah does not occur elsewhere. Okay, so the word teshurah, which I said means gift, this is a one-time use of the word in the entire Bible. Ehrlich derives it from the root shur, to behold, and explains it as a gift to be looked at, that is something which is not edible. 9, an explanatory sentence written in the anticipation of verse 11 to define the term seer, which had become archaic by the date when the narrative was written. The note is of value in the study of the development of the prophetic office in Israel and throws light especially on the popular conception in these early days of the prophet's function. Inquire of God for insight into the future. Seer, Hebrew ro'eh, one who sees or knows what is hidden from the eyes of ordinary men, for example, the future, or in this case, the fate of the donkeys. There is another word, Hebrew word for seer, choseh, which is first used of the prophet Gad, that's in 2 Samuel 24, and maintained its currency for a much longer period. So choseh is a seer, and the same root, you get a noun, chazon, which is vision. So the start of Isaiah is Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amoz, the vision of Isaiah son of Amoz. So what the prophets see, about which they're talking, which is a vision from God, right? So we have more commonly then for the prophets the root Chet Zayin Hey, as opposed to the more common ro'eh. It's what average people do. So I'm looking at my laptop, ani ro'eh, I see the laptop. Okay, so that's average seeing, whereas choseh could be something more, something deeper that you're seeing, some kind of message that is being relayed through seeing. Okay. And yeah, so that's all the commentary on this section. Now in Alter, back to page 281, 5, they were just coming, ... when. This relatively infrequent indication of simultaneous actions occurs 4 times in this single episode. The writer seems to want to highlight a crucial series of temporal intersections and concatenations as Saul moves unwitting toward his destiny as king. Okay, so in other words, all the movements
Excuse me, where are you?
I'm reading the bottom of 281 in Alter from verse 5.
Oh, from verse 5. Sorry, thank you.
Uh-huh. So yeah. So Alter is just pointing out just the movements here are kind of a metaphor for Saul. Just they're moving around not knowing where to go, and that also highlights not knowing that he's about to become king. Tsuf, this is, of course, Samuel's home region. And then now we're on to 282, below the line. Come, let us turn back. According to the general principle of biblical narrative, that the first reported speech of a character is a defining moment of characterization, Saul's first utterance reveals him as a young man uncertain about pursuing his way and quite concerned about his father. This concern, especially in light of the attention devoted to tense relations between fathers and sons in the ensuing narrative, is touching and suggests that the young Saul is a sensitive person, an attribute that will be woefully submerged by his experience of political power. But as this first dialogue unfolds, it is Saul's uncertainty that comes to the fore, because at every step he has to be prodded and directed by his own servant. Okay, so Alter just highlighting for us that this dialogue isn't just random dialogue, but it highlights for us kind of the measure of the man and what's going to be in store later in the story of Saul. So we continue on number 6. There is a man of God in this town, whatever he says will surely come to pass. The fact that neither Saul nor his servant seems to have heard of Samuel by name, and the town too is left unnamed, has led many scholars to conclude that this story comes from a different source. But as Robert Polzin has vigorously argued, the palpable shift between chapter 8 and chapter 9 may rather reflect the varying play of perspectives between narrator and reader, between reader and character, between character and character, that forms the stuff of sophisticated narrative. Saul's entire story until the night before his death on the battlefield is a story about the futile quest for knowledge of an inveterately ignorant man. Samuel may have been presented before as the spiritual leader of all the tribes, but this particular Benjaminite farm boy knows nothing of him, and Saul's servant, who presumably has also spent all his time on the farm, has picked up merely a local rumor of his activity, but not his name. From the rural popular perspective of both, and in keeping with the themes of knowledge and prediction of the story, Samuel is not a judge and political leader, but a man of God and a seer who can predict the future. He will tell us of our way on which we have gone. The Hebrew verb clearly indicates some sort of past action and not, as one might expect, on which we should go. Perhaps they feel so lost that they need the seer to tell them where they have been heading. In the event, it is toward a kingdom, not toward lost donkeys. 7. But look, if we are to go, what shall we bring? The diffident Saul is on the point of quitting before the encounter. He needs the counsel and the provident quarter shekel of his servant in order to move forward and make the portentous connection with Samuel. Bread, as in general biblical usage, this is a synecdoche for food. So just another term or just a general category. Don't understand it literally as bread, but as some kind of food. 9, in former times in Israel. This terminological notice simultaneously alerts the audience to the gap between the time of the story, which is the 11th century BCE, and the audience's own time, at the very least 2 or 3 generations later, and underscores the ambiguity of Samuel's transitional role as leader. He is variously called judge, man of God, seer, and prophet, and he also performs priestly functions. To inquire of God, the idiom means to inquire of an oracle. And 10, what you say is good. Saul, the future leader, follows someone else's lead, here us slaves. Okay. So let's go on. 11 through 14. Hema Olim, so we're on page 47. Hema Olim b'ma'alei ha'ir, v'hema matz'u na'arot yotzot lish'ov mayim, v'yomru lahen hayesh bazeh haro'eh. So they were coming up to the height of the city, right there. They're going up to the city itself, and they found young women who had gone out to draw water. Right? They went to the well to draw water, and they, Saul and the servant, said to them, "Is there a seer here?" So, the encounter at the well is a common theme throughout the Torah, and then elsewhere in the Bible too. Right? We have Eliezer, Abraham's servant, meeting Rebecca at the well. We have Jacob meeting Rachel at the well. We have Moses meeting the 7 sisters, including the woman he's going to marry, Tzipporah, at the well. So lots of things happen at wells. Okay, so is there a seer here? They ask these women who are at the well. 12, Vata'anena otam, vatomarna, yesh hine lefanecha, maher ata, ki hayom ba la'ir, ki zevach hayom la'am ba bama. So they answered them, and they said, yes. So yesh, yes, there is a seer here. Hine lefanecha, he's right here before you. Hurry up now, because today he came to the city. And there's a sacrifice today on behalf of the people at the high place. So, again, how does Saul not know, like the future king of Israel, not know that today is that day is a sacrifice day? These women at the well have to tell them that and say, yes, this guy, the seer, is here. Hurry up and go get him, or go find him. 13, Kevoachem ha'ir, kain timtze'un oto, b'terem ya'aleh ha'bamata, le'echol, ki lo yochal ha'am, ad bo'o, ki hu yevarech ha'zevach, acharechen yochlu ha'keruim, va'ata alu, ki oto hayom timtze'un oto. So they're giving an elaborate answer, and they said, when you get to the city, you'll find him before he offers at the high place and eats, because nobody among the people can eat until he comes, because he'll bless the sacrifice, and after which all those who were called can eat. And now go up, because now is when you'll find him. 14, Vaya'alu ha'ir, hema ba'im betoch ha'ir, vehine Shmuel yotze likratam la'alot habama. They came up to the city, and as they came into the city, there's Samuel coming out to greet them, to offer, or he's coming out toward them, but also it implies greeting them, to offer onto the high place. Okay, so it seems like it's all working out, and that the encounter has some kind of possible, it's beyond luck. It's like ordained that it just happens that they could encounter Samuel in this way. So let's look at the commentary. On the bottom of 47, going out to draw water, the customary duty of the young women of the village, practiced even today. The time was evening. Okay, we know that. How does the commentary know that the time to go out to get water is the evening? I don't know. Okay. Is the seer here? Is he in town or away on a journey? They answered. The answer is extremely prolix, and the Talmud suggests that the maidens found Saul so handsome that they purposely held him in conversation. So I was wondering about, this lengthy answer. Like, why are these ladies not just saying, yes, he's here, go there? They're kind of answering in a roundabout kind of way. And so the Talmud suggests that they're enamored with him. They're like kind of speechless, but so nervous around him that they talk a lot because he's so handsome. Or they haven't seen somebody like him because he's tall before. So they're kind of not speechless, but speaking in a nervous way. He is before thee, that is, go straight forward. He has come today. Samuel had returned that day to preside at the sacrificial meal in Ramah. High place, it was the natural instinct among all peoples to build places of worship on hills. Probably the altar was the one which Samuel had built in chapter 7. Ye shall straightway find him. The women had probably seen Samuel near the city gate as they left it. Samuel seems to have returned to the city from the high place after the ritual sacrifice had been performed, expressly to meet Saul, of whose coming he had been warned. He doth bless the sacrifice, pronounce the benediction over the sacrificial meal. Bidden, that is, invited. Within the city, they had just entered the gateway when they met Saul on his way out of the city to the high place to take his place at the sacrificial meal. Samuel had probably inquired at the gate if a stranger had entered. To go up to the high place, the altar was situated outside the town on higher ground than Ramah, either on the summit of the hill or on the slope of which Ramah lay, or on the adjacent hill. The precision of the verbs and of the topographical details is noteworthy. Okay, let's look at altar on these verses. On 283, on verse 11, the last paragraph there. They met some young women going out to draw water. The wells would have typically been outside the walls of the city. The encounter between a young man in foreign territory with young women drawing water seems to signal the beginning of a betrothal type scene. Compare Rebecca, Rachel, and Zipporah at their respective wells. But the betrothal scene is aborted. Instead of a betrothal feast, there will be a sacrificial feast that adumbrates a rite of coronation. The destiny of kingship to which Saul proceeds will lead to grimmer consequences than those that follow in the repeated story of a hero who finds this future bride at a well. On page 284, 12 to 13, the reply of the young women is notable for its garrulousness. One Talmudic sage sought to explain this trait with a simple misogynistic formula: women are talkative. Whereas more amusingly, the Midrash proposes that the young women kept repeating themselves because they were so smitten by Saul's beauty. The clues in the immediately preceding narrative context suggest a less fanciful explanation. Seeing the evident signs of confusion and incomprehension in Saul's face, the women take elaborate measures to spell out where Samuel is to be found and what Samuel should do in order to be sure not to miss him. In all this, it's noteworthy, as Polzin has observed, that Samuel, having agreed to find a king for Israel, has made no move whatever toward that purpose. Instead, the future king finds him. So interesting stuff here that Alter is sharing with us. The high place, the Bama, was an elevated place, a kind of open-air natural altar, perhaps sometimes with a structure erected alongside it. where sacrifices were generally offered in the period before the centralization of the cult in Jerusalem. The kind of sacrifice involved here is one in which parts of the animal would be burned on the altar and the rest eaten in a ceremonial feast. Okay, we can read a little bit more. It says here to read 15 to 25. Well, let's see, because the chapter ends at 27. Let's see if we can read all those verses, because we have 14 minutes left. So we're back to 48. Va'adonai gala et ozen Shmuel, yom echad lifnei bo Shaul lemor. God had revealed into the ear of Samuel one day before Saul came, saying, 16, Ka'et machar eshlach elecha ish me'eretz binyamin, umeshachto lenagid al ami Yisrael, v'hoshia et ami miyad plishtim, ki ra'iti et ami ki ba'at sa'akato elai. So, in other words, this is a parenthetical note to tell us, here's Saul coming to the city. Oh, and by the way, 15 tells us that the day before, God had just told Samuel this in 16, that tomorrow I'm going to send to you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you should anoint him as leader of my people Israel, and he will save my people from the hand of the Philistines, because I have seen that my people, that their cry comes up to me. Okay, so we're now being told that the day before, Samuel knew from God that a guy from Benjamin is going to be coming, and that God is going to, and that God had selected him already to be king. 17, Shmuel ra'a et Shaul, va'adonai anahu, hine ha'ish asher amarti elecha, ze yatzur be'ami. Samuel saw Saul, and God answered him and said, yeah, that's the guy that I told you about, who he will have authority over my people. 18, Vayigash Shaul et Shmuel. So now this was the parenthetical, right? So he's in 14, they're going up, is Saul and his servant, to see Samuel, and 15 to 17 is, this is what happened the day before, and this is what's happening now. God's telling Samuel, that's the guy I told you about. 18, Vayigash Shaul et Shmuel betoch hasha'ar, vayomer hagidan ali, eze beit haroeh. So Saul approached Samuel at the gate, or inside the gate. So if you can picture, if you've been to Israel, like the Jaffa Gate, for example, when you enter the Jaffa Gate, you are walking through a gate, right? It's not just one step that you're taking. It's a few steps, and it's kind of, you're turning within the gate to get into the old city. The Dung Gate, if you've gone into the old city that way, it's not such a thing. But the Zion Gate, which I've gone in also, which you can drive through, is also like this. It's a few steps through. So you can meet somebody there at the gate. So Saul approaches Samuel inside the gate and said, please, sir, tell me, where is the house of the seer? So Saul has no idea who this guy is, and Samuel only knows who it is because God's in his ear telling him that's the guy. 19, Vaya'an Shmuel et Shaul, Vayomer Anochi haroeh, Ale lefanai habama, va'achaltem imi hayom, v'shilachticha baboker, v'chol asher bilvavacha agid lach. So Samuel answers Saul, and says, I am the seer. Come up before me to the high place, and you'll eat with me today, and I'll send you in the morning. In the morning, I'll send you, and everything that's in your heart, I'll tell you. 20, V'la'atonot ha'avdot lecha, Hayom shloshet yamim al tasem et libcha lahem kinim tsa'u ulami kol chemdat Yisrael halo lecha ulachol beit avicha. And the donkeys that are lost to you, they're 3 days' journey from here. Don't worry about them because they've been found. And on whom is all the desire of Israel? Is it not on you and all your father's house? So now Samuel is kind of revealing to Saul, hey, wait a second, so kind of like how he's the seer. He knows that Saul's coming about the donkeys, and he's easing his mind about it. They're 3 days' journey from here. They've been found. Don't worry about it. But all the people of Israel are now have their mind to you. And this should be a surprise to Saul. Vaya'an Shaul vayomer halo ben yamini anochi miketane shivtei Yisrael umishpachti hatzeira mikol mishpachot shivtei Binyamin velama dibarta elai kadavar hazeh. So this is typical. Like there are some prophets who want to reject prophecy when first hearing the call to prophecy. This is what Saul is saying. Saul answers and said, aren't I just a Benjaminite? I'm from the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family is the youngest of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Why have you spoken to me about this matter? Like, well, what is this that you're mentioning to me that all the people of Israel have chosen me? What are you talking about? Who am I? So again, he's the tallest person in all of Israel, and he's saying he's from the smallest, which could also mean the shortest of all the tribes, right? So that's kind of funny. 22, Vayikach Shmuel et Shaul ve'et Na'aro, Vayevi'em lishkata, Vayitein lahem makom berosh hakruim vehema kishloshim ish. Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them to the chamber and gave them a place at the head of all the people who had come to offer this sacrifice, and they were 30 people. 23, Vayomer Shaul, La tabach tena et hamana, asher natati lach, asher amarti elecha sim ota imach. Samuel says to the cook, bring the portion which I gave you, that I said to you, set it by you. Like I set this portion by you, the cook. Now bring that portion to me. 24, Vayarem hatabach et hashok vehe'aleha, vayasem lifnei Shaul, vayomer hine, hanishar sim lefanecha echol, ki lamoed shamur lecha lemor, ha'am karati, vayochal Shaul im Shmuel bayomahu. So the cook brought it up. He took up the thigh and brought it up and put it before Saul and Samuel said, here is that which has been reserved. Set it before you and eat, because for this appointed time it has been kept for you. For I said, I have invited the people. And Saul did eat with Samuel that day. Like Samuel saying, this all had been foreordained to happen in this way. Don't worry, eat this portion. 25, Vayerdu meha bama ha'ir vayedaber im Shaul al hagag. They came down off the high place of the city, and he spoke with Saul on the roof, or in the housetop. Vayashkimu, 26, Vayehi ka'alot hashachar, Vayikra Shmuel el Shaul hagag lemor, Kuma v'ashalchecha vayakam Shaul vayetzu shnehem hu u'Shmuel hachutza. They got up, or they arose early, and when it was dawn, Samuel called to Saul to the rooftop, saying, get up and I will send you. And Saul got up, and the two of them went, he and Samuel, outside. Hema yordim b'ktsei ha'ir u'Shmuel amar El Shaul emor lana'ar v'ya'avor lefanenu v'ya'avor v'ata amod kayom v'ashmi'acha et davar Elohim. They went down to the outskirts of the city, and Shmuel said to Saul, say to the servant to go before us, and he went before them. But you stand today, and I will cause you to hear the word of God. So let's see if we can look at the commentary on this section quickly. Okay, back to 48. Had revealed unto Samuel, on the bottom there on 15, literally had uncovered his ear. Verses 15 and following are a digression to explain why Samuel was prepared for Saul's coming. He shall save my people. The Philistines had so completely reestablished their ascendancy over Israel that the distress cry to the people reached God as before in Egypt. 17, this verse is the continuation of verse 14. Have authority over, literally shall restrain, a peculiar word contrasting the restraints of a settled government with the license of the time in which every man did that which was right in his own eyes. 49, I am the seer, the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Samuel, do you call yourself a seer? I shall show you that you are no seer. And Samuel failed to pick David from among Jesse's sons. So that's in chapter 16. We're going to see what happens with Samuel rejecting God, who had chosen David to be the replacement for Saul. Go up before me. The verb is in the singular, and the words are addressed to Saul only. Samuel gives him precedence. All that is in your heart, not the matter of the donkeys, about which Samuel reassures him immediately. In the light of Saul's character as revealed in the sequel, we can hardly go wrong in understanding these words as an indication that Saul had brooded in secret over the tyranny of the Philistines and was perhaps forming plans for ending it. Set not that mind on them, you may cease to be anxious about them. The desire of Israel, etc., better all that is desirable in Israel, is it not for you and for all your father's house? The desirable things in Israel are the honor and advantages of the royal station. What are a few donkeys compared with them? Samuel is not explicit at this stage, nor does Saul's answer necessarily suggest that he understands Samuel's words to refer to the kingship. The smallest of the tribes, Benjamin, which had been next to Manasseh, the smallest tribe at the time of numbering in the wilderness, was very considerably reduced in number by the slaughter recorded in Judges 20. My family the least. In saying this, Saul was modest but not quite accurate. His father, by any interpretation of verse 1, was a man of standing in the community. The reply may have been the conventional words of modesty used in such circumstances. 50, the chamber, the banqueting hall, connected with the high place in which the sacrificial feast was held. Chiefest place, a place of honor at the head of the guests. The equal treatment of Saul and his servants should be noted. Set it by you, reserve it for a special guest. That which was upon it. The meaning of this phrase is discussed in the Talmud, and suggested explanations are the breast which was waved with the thigh and the fat tail which was adjacent to the thigh. It's a coincidence that the latter sense has been reached by modern commentators, in their case by a textual emendation. Okay, so it's just a comment on the word in verse 24 after the word shok. Behold, eat, or behold, that which has been reserved is set before you. Eat, treating the Hebrew seem as the passive participle of the verb. The appointed time, the time of your arrival. I've invited the people. I told the cook how many I was inviting to the feast and asked him to reserve portions accordingly. An alternative rendering might be, I have invited some people. Spoke with Saul upon the housetop. The roof was still in Oriental houses, was flat and was used for relaxation as we might use a garden. It's probable that Saul slept there. Samuel may have discussed with Saul the critical plight of Israel and thereby prepared him for his high appointment. And then on 51, just 26, 27, abroad, that is, out of the house, Samuel prefers to anoint Saul in the open country rather than in the city to be sure of absolute privacy. The people would have been suspicious of the choice by ballot if they had gained any inkling of the fact that Saul had already been anointed. Going down, descending the hill on which Ramah lay after leaving the city, bid the servant pass on so that he should not witness the act of anointing, right? We have to, the commentary is understanding that we have read ahead to understand what's happening here. We're going to stop here. We'll read altar to begin our time in the next session on this section of verses 15 to 27. So we'll read that next time. Wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Have a good rest of the day. And remember that next Friday will be the last session, since it's right before Memorial Day. It's to be our last session until after Labor Day. Take care.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.